Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Yoko from Japan. Welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, I'm Yoko. I'm Japanese. I was born and raised here in Japan and I've lived all my life here in my mother country, and I'm also a huge Trump supporter. I know this is a little outdated already, but did you guys see the tweets by Cher? Cher? She actually reminds me of my American English teacher back in university days because he said that I look like her. I'm like, what? Just the hair back then. So she finally feared something that she was blindly welcoming, which is of course the crowds of illegal immigrants flooding to where she lives. President Trump used the resistance power of leftists against themselves, which I think is amazing. And at the same time, this is telling me, a Japanese in Japan, that the root cause of the problem among the leftists in the US and Japan is actually exactly the same. And I'm gonna explain, but let me get started by asking you a question. Why do you think this type of leftists like Cher end up being so shallow and self-contradictory? The huge thing that I keep noticing is that the leftists like these recognize their position as a third party, as if they are not part of the game of political dynamics. Meaning that they keep judging or evaluating the society like an outsider or a critic, not realizing that it's about their own life that they are talking about. And this actually applies to some conservatives and right-wings here in Japan, but that's for another video. And today, let me introduce how Japanese leftists are to you, because I have a feeling that you might find it interesting. And first of all, what's important, I think, is to learn what's behind the thought patterns and political thoughts of the Japanese leftists. And that is war guilt, just like white guilt in the US. And of course the war guilt of the World War II. As a result of war guilt imprint, which has carried on for over 7 decades now, since the war guilt information program officially being taken by GHQ during the occupation period after the World War II, the big concern and aim of the Japanese leftists have been to make sure that Japan never gets armed ever again, or to make sure that Japan never goes into war ever again. And why do they think that? Because they believe that Japan is the evil bad guy, just as sentenced at Tokyo trials that were proved to be a made-up. However, the leftists are strongly brainwashed. They believe in the guilt that they are imprinted, and if they keep Japan locked in a cage, then the world will be a peaceful place. They do oppose to some other like evil things, you know, in the world, such as terrorism and human trafficking and so on, but fundamentally they just believe that Japan is the cancer of the world. And with that mindset, when they look at East Asia, this is what happens. For example, they ignore the fact that Communist China is taking expansionist policies in Asia. And it's crazy, I know, but I don't know how they can be this blinded. But as for security, the leftists in Japan are much worse than the leftists in the US. They believe that there's no such thing like Chinese expansionism, even though it's pretty apparent what they're doing in the South China Sea and elsewhere with their militaristic activities. And we all know in the world that Chinese communists killed their own citizens at the Tiananmen Square. And also we all know what they're doing onto people from Tibet, Uyghur, and southern Mongolia. What Communist China is doing today is just like, or even worse than, Holocaust. And interestingly enough, there are some leftists here that do care about who are oppressed by Communist China, such as Tibet, Uyghur, southern Mongolia, and so on, but they never complain to China, which is very odd. And what's even more strange is that Japanese leftists also ignore that China does own nukes. They don't complain to that. And when they talk about the world without no nuclear weapons, they somehow keep bashing Japan for having gotten nuked. Today, just so you know, Japan does not own any nuclear weapons. In Japan, we are not even discussing whether or not to have nuclear weapons. And before nuclear weapons, we don't even own our own military. But the thing is, the Japanese leftists love making promises over and over again that Japan never invites any tragedies like getting nuked. while saying absolutely nothing against the nuclear power China. Yes, the one and the only China that is militarily expanding illegally and invalidly as of right now. And how do Japanese leftists deal with North Korea? It's the same. Japanese leftists ignore the facts such as North Korea having launched missiles towards Japan, or the fact that the country has developed nuclear technology and weapons enough to be regarded as a threat for the US. Japanese leftists also ignore the fact that North Korea has abducted literally hundreds of innocent Japanese citizens. Some of the Japanese leftists may care about those who were oppressed by communist China, such as Tibet, Uyghur, and Southern Mongolia, like I mentioned, but they never care about the human rights of our own citizens abducted by North Korea. And somehow, Japanese leftists believe that one day all countries will eventually hold hands with each other magically out of nowhere. The only tactic that they have in mind is to keep Japan locked in a cage. You know, the Japanese leftists hold up the same kind of slogans as the leftists in the US, like all the peace and human rights and that sort of things. But what's really contradictory is that Japanese leftists stay silent against communist China or North Korea after everything that's gone way out of what they believe in, which is the world peace. And why are they like that? Because, like I said earlier, Japanese leftists believe that if they keep chanting the word peace while bashing their own country, Japan, in the form of a resistance movement, all other countries will be nice to us all. Because they believe that Japan is a bad guy. They believe that we are the cancer of the world. What I can analyze is that all they have is this wishful thinking, like some sort of cult. They act like they are seeing the world, but they are only looking at their wishes, and they never face the reality. They are strongly brainwashed into thinking that their enemy is their own country. And of course that benefits their enemies. They don't realize that their good intent is manipulated by their own enemies, so they're basically working for their enemies with a good intent. Problems do come from within, from our own country, and we do have enemies within, but because they're only focused on that, and because they have such an extreme way of thinking, they don't realize that they are actually exposed to the danger from the outside. And because they don't realize that they're exposed to the outer danger, they can grow the habit of seeing things like an outsider or a third party, because they never guess that they can be in danger from the outside. You know what I'm saying? This is why they never realize that they're part of the game, playing a part in this political dynamics. And I'm guessing that it's the same for the leftists in the US, due to white guilt and the misjudgment of their true enemies that comes as a result of such guilt imprint. I still can't believe it, guys, that the leftists in the US are wishing and hoping that President Trump is a traitor. President Trump is not the enemy of the US, he is rather a hero of the US. I would say he's a hero for the world as well. He's a historical man. Political discussions do contain all the morality and cultural values and religious beliefs and so on, but it's about how to survive. It's about how to fight. It's about how to protect yourself. With the tweets though, I did see some hope for the future, that when there is an actual threat to people, even leftists can wake up. And it might be a little too late when that happens, but at least there's a hope. Because that shows that what we need to do, those who are already aware of what's happening in the world, our job is to let those naive people realize what actually happens when the threat comes to their lives. So for that, I think that we should talk about all the simulations, all the possible scenarios and so on. And of course, exposing how we are all brainwashed in the world, not just America. We are brainwashed, and there's the trick of the brainwashing. You know, we are not outsiders, we're all involved and we're all in this. There will be countries that will betray you or break the rules and laws and all the common values and so on, but the notion that each of us is involved, it will contribute to the world peace. But yeah, I hope that this will become the common sense of the world. Anyway, I'm gonna go now, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Have an amazing, fantastic day from me, okay? I will talk to you soon. Bye! If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and of course make sure to subscribe to this channel. If you really liked this video, please support me on Patreon so that I can keep creating this type of free content for you. If you want to talk to me, try Twitter at Random Yoko or any other social media such as Facebook and Instagram. My artwork is available on Etsy. Sometimes it can be out of stock, but I hope you don't mind. Have an amazing, fantastic day from me. Okay, bye.